Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jolly SEO's TLDR. Today we're with Shane Dutka. Shane, I am so glad you're here after the years we've known each other. For everyone who hasn't met you yet, you have had quite the journey, your own sites, teaching other people how to do sites, managing a portfolio of sites, VP of Home Solutions, right, at Three Ships,
hmm
and now spinning up your own software tool, SiteCurve. So thank you for your time today and teaching us what we're about to get into.
Yeah, happy to join you. Excited. Appreciate the invite, first off. Yeah, we've known each other for a couple of years now, which is crazy to think. Time flies, honestly. So yeah, really excited to chop it up. And there's a lot going on in the SEO world, so no shortage of things to talk about.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of times, Shane, like evergreen, you've produced enough content, so you know the game. You want to go evergreen, but today we are still in the kind of zeitgeist moment. There's a cultural thing happening in SEO, the site reputation abuse update by Google. The audience hasn't heard of it. It's well worth a Google itself to just get some context, but you actually have an interesting perspective because you have a tool that is monitoring these changes, but you
hmm
also worked in some of the space that the industry is now trying to understand what the players are, right? There's been a lot of
hmm
looking into what the players were. And so without obviously like there's privacy, there's personal relationships, there's business, but I would love to ask you some questions because I'm an external party to a lot of it, right? If it's not clear, like we play into the eat angle of SEO
hmm
with our outreach. And so we're like so eager to get into these publications, right? The big dogs were the ones affected by site reputation abuse.
Yep.
But little did I personally understand, and finally I'm learning, of course, there's all kinds of business relationships that the publishers themselves weren't directly managing. And I guess my first question for you is like, how long, to your knowledge, has these content silos been managed by third parties and not
hmm
directly by the publishers?
Yeah, so I guess for the audience, I for the last 4 years, I've been working at a company called Home Solutions, which was the home services division of Three Ships, which is a conglomerate, like an affiliate conglomerate. I think we did something 200 million, 300 million in revenue, massive company, mostly SEO and SEM driven. So I'm very much aware of what's going on and have been for since basically it began. And yeah, I mean, this whole notion of publishing on big publisher sites, basically like leasing out subdirectories of sites. For example, Forbes and U.S. News are really big examples, like great examples of this. For example, U.S. News has this 360 reviews subdirectory that they publish all kinds of different content in. They've been doing this for at least, as far as I can remember, 2020, 2019. So it's been going on at least until from 2019 till now. Forbes, same thing. Forbes Advisor, I want to say they got in the game around 2021 ish, something like that. And they spun up a lot of content that was like tangential to their brand, right? Because Forbes is known for being a business publication, but they caught wind of this whole publish anything and it ranks kind of thing on their domain, which US News was already doing. And at this point, Three Ships, and it's fairly public at this point, but Three Ships was also doing a version of this that I was somewhat like working in, not necessarily working on these sites per se, but I was working around them and near the teams that were working on those sites in Three Ships. So I have a fair bit of understanding of what's going on. So yeah, it's been going on for at least since 2018. And you got your US News, Forbes, you got your Market Watch, Wall Street Journal, you got AP News, Time. The list is pretty long at this point, and they all were doing the same version of the same play, which was working quite well up until recently.
Yeah, yeah, and very publicly, there's nothing really that's a big surprise here. These are public companies, a lot of them. It's very interesting to see us SEOs. There's a lot of like consternation from smaller players, like how come they get to rank instantly for these terms that are not related to their business? But now we're coming through to the back end of this, at least for now. It seems like the pendulum always can shift with Google. So for now, Google is saying, all right, we're not okay with the Insta rank. We get it. The users find this frustrating as well. They're being penalized, but not site-wide, just
Mhm.
these categories, just these directories, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier, like it's not all third parties publishing on websites they actually don't own and leasing it out. Like I mentioned before, U.S. News was actually first party. They themselves were managing it.
Interesting.
At least as far as I know, there could have been like some internal team structure thing going on, but it wasn't like a third party
Wirecutter?
LLC. Wirecutter was bought by the New York Times, so that was its own sort of internal thing as well. It wasn't, it was first party basically. In most cases, it is third party though. There's like a very arm's length agreement that would exist between the publisher and like the domain owner. And the vast majority are third party cases, which just you just mentioned it, right? They were publishing in a subfolder on a site. Technically, it's really easy to set something like that up, which is why you saw it happening a lot. They would get like a little space on the site that they publish to, usually via reverse proxy. That would be the have their own CMS they would publish content into, and they would zap into their to their website, at least from Google's perspective, and it would rank very quickly.
Really interesting. Yeah, I think Wirecutter, you mentioned US, that those are different where the content team is in-house. Because I had, without naming names, I'd even heard of newsrooms where they're sharing the same newsroom as the content team, as the
Mhm.
affiliate team. So it's there seems to be different models here that were working up until recently, as you said.
Yeah, I guess again, there's a fair bit of nuance here. The issue at hand is that the domain existed for some purpose, right?
Yeah.
And then the team got wind of, oh, we can rank really well on anything. Let's publish VPNs, best VPN software on US News and make money. So that's not what Google doesn't want to see that. Google wants you to stay true to your brand. That's what people know you as. And you just can't, you can't like shortcut the system and publish for these very lucrative keywords and make a bunch of money. And they'd rather have specialist websites ranking on those terms, or at least Google perceives that they're specialists. They're just focused on that stuff. An example of this, actually, two examples. NerdWallet is an example that they're still doing well, and you could argue, they're a big domain, but they just stayed super focused on financial stuff, as far as I know, and they're doing okay. They're not like declining as a part of this whole site reputation abuse scandal. Wirecutter as well, like that part of New York Times is wholly focused on the product reviews. As far as I know, they're doing fine. They're not like a part of this, even though they're part of New York Times. So there is a little bit of nuance here. And I want to say Google was surgical in its attacks on these sites. It wasn't like an algorithmic thing. It was literally somebody at Google identified a subfolder that was abusing the system and they added a manual penalty to it. You just had Forbes see that and then they republished their whole
Yeah.
subfolder into a new subfolder and it actually ranked because it was a manual penalty that wasn't attached to the other subfolder they moved it to.
Which they
That's now,
said on
yeah.
LinkedIn, did you see this? Where they were like, oh, that was done 2 weeks ago. That was absolutely not in response to this.
I didn't see that actually. I do know that those pages are now 404ing and they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
somebody over
these
there,
don't
yeah,
exist anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on for sure.
it's really fascinating because you just laid out a very positive, and so did I, feeding you this, where like Google's recognizing consumers don't want this type of behavior. But another thing you've mentioned to me in our previous call is interestingly, this just drives the need for Google Ads for these
Mhm.
businesses to complement. Like they now need to spend more. And so it's a very cynical kind of viewpoint that I'm positing here, but that they could have seen a business case for shutting down the organic and knowing that holidays, Black Friday, there's a real need to urgently then spend on ads to float
Yeah,
float traffic.
yeah, you're not wrong in that case. Yeah, if a lot of these big publishers like Forbes, U.S. News, even Three Ships, all of these big Wall Street Journal, like they all have deals with brands that expect a certain amount of volume. Usually, you sign agreements with these brands, and you say, "Hey, the brand will ask you how much volume can you send me." They'll earmark that number in their budget. They'll tell their CMO, "Hey, I'm gonna give 100K of spend to Forbes, so we're gonna budget for that, and that'll be what we're shooting to see." And then you have this whole thing blow up and Forbes can't send any revenue to this brand. So what is Forbes going to do? Either they're going to take an L with that brand and potentially risk the relationship, and the brand will probably say, you guys didn't deliver on the thing you said you would deliver on. We're not doing business with you anymore, and they'll leave. And if they really value that relationship, and I know Forbes is running paid traffic to make up for the deficit in SEO, I'm sure to your point that they're going to up the paid spend to close the gap so they don't piss off the brand partners. So, because at the end of the day, none of this works if you can't sell or monetize any of this traffic, which they've been doing this for 4+ years. They have these really lucrative deals and they take years to produce. Like the sales cycle on these things are 18 months in some cases. So yeah, they're definitely going to up their paid spend if they don't want to lose brand deals.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a service provider, just like the rest of us, right? Got to deliver.
Yeah.
I want to be cognizant of time. There's two more items I wanted to talk about. One is you just mentioned something that I want to explore a little bit more. And naturally, I'm blanking on that item. Well, it's you was the surgical aspect. There's a lot of chatter in our SEO world. Google doesn't know what they're doing. Google's lost touch. Their algorithms are out of control. Google says their algorithms are now so advanced, this was done algorithmically. You say
Hmm.
this is surgical. I say there's so few sites we're talking about, it doesn't take that much labor. This is a company with, I don't remember the exact count, but I think, over six-figure employees, not in search alone, but quite a lot of employees. And their head of search earlier this year was saying, you should expect the pace to pick up in the workplace. We are going to be aggressive. So I'm always out there when I hear SEO saying Google doesn't know what they're doing.
Hmm.
I'm just wondering, like, who do you think this actually is? Like, I get it. I live in the Bay Area. I know we're like pretty, you know, so we got life good. We're pretty cushy. Like, maybe
Hmm.
we don't have the rep for being the hardest workers, but I've visited Google and those people work long hours. They seem to know what they're doing. They seem to also need to serve their customers. And
Hmm.
so you mentioned surgical. To you, it's not yet algorithmically, it's a manual process.
Yeah, let me unpack that for a second. My take on it is, I want to say back in March, April, something like that, they announced initially, hey, if you're doing this reputation abuse, you should be warned that we're going to take action. There's a warning shot. And then my guess, this is me speculating, they tried to make their algorithm catch stuff that looked like abuse. And certain sites started to decline over the like around August, and sites that I'm familiar with that I've mentioned earlier did start to decline in August, though not dramatically like the way they are now. Fast forward to 2, 3 weeks ago when they're down basically 80, 90, 100% in some cases. Basically what I'm thinking happened is they tried to use the algorithm and manipulate it and tweak it, tune in the tuning and dials to make it do it algorithmically, but it's so challenging to do it that way. So they just, the hell with it, let's just fix it ourselves kind of thing, which they can do, and they can point to their policy and say, you abuse this thing, so we're gonna knock you down. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like Google is just a business. They're trying to make an algorithm that produces great quality search results at low price, as low as price as they can, just to make it all worth it. And they're going to make mistakes. They're going to have errors. I'm sure you're still seeing, there's probably still cases of site reputation abuse in air quotes happening right now. I guarantee it. And people, are going to be on Twitter sort of yelling from the mountaintops, like, look at Google, you didn't catch this
Yeah.
other site. Like, it's impossible to manage at that scale, is really challenging. And I'm sure there are smart people trying to do it, but it's a tough problem to solve for sure.
So I guess until I get to sit down with the Google search employee, specifically someone who works on the algorithm, we won't actually know. So I don't really need to try to encourage the SEO community to be sympathetic, or not even sympathetic, but like more aware that they may know what they're doing, whether it's algorithmically or manually.
Hmm.
So setting aside that we can't quite resolve that, I think we agree that they do seem to be taking action. I think we all in the SEO community can literally see. I wanted to give a sec, if you could show us the tool you're developing, and
Hmm.
because SiteCurve now is very interesting to me in this particular moment, and I'm sure these moments are going to keep coming. These are not site-wide changes. These are specific to the categories, and we all need to be careful which categories now we're associating ourselves or our clients with.
Hmm.
Is that right? What do you see in SiteCurve?
Yeah, yeah. I'll pull up my screen here and show you. And I actually dropped a screenshot of this, I want to say on Twitter a couple days ago, or maybe earlier this week or last week. So basically, what you're looking at here is a part of SiteCurve, and SiteCurve is basically a tool, a SaaS, an SEO tool that tries to identify the winners and losers in SEO. And essentially, how it works is a user would put keywords in to the tool, and then every single day, SiteCurve is going to grab the search rankings for those keywords, the top 20, and we're going to grab every single website, and we're going to do this every single day. So what you're looking at here is a pet insurance landscape. So basically what I did, because I'm still building this tool, I'm testing it and I'm trying to find bugs and stuff. I loaded it about 500 to 700 pet insurance keywords. I picked pet insurance because it's a very lucrative niche. Forbes and U.S. News are both in this niche. So I was very interested to see if what's going on there, who's winning and losing in this highly lucrative niche, because it'll tell me as an SEO, the people who are winning in this niche must be doing something really well in SEO. So I should copy them. And obviously the losers are doing something I shouldn't do. So let's see what they're doing. Yeah, what you're looking at here is basically a snapshot of the last 28 days. Actually, yeah, last 28 days, which captures the site reputation sort of window of declining traffic. And you can see here, we're showing the top 5 gainers and the top 5 losers. And you can see US News. I'm going to swap this number for a percentage later, but you can see this is basically like a 95% drop in visibility over a 28 span of time in the pet insurance niche. So it's a pretty massive drop. And of course, Forbes is right up there, 28 million lost. Now they're only 14K of share of voice. It's just a measurement, a visibility measurement. So MarketWatch declined and Lemonade. So really these three right here are the big losers over the span of time. And SiteCurve tracks millions of keywords across many different niches. So this is just one example that is clearly showing these big players declining. And then over here on the left, you have these niche players like policy. Of course, Reddit is still growing. We all know about Reddit and it's Google's love for Reddit. ASPCA pet insurance. These are smaller sites that are niche relevant, right? So Google's trying to reward them. So yeah, this type of stuff is what we're going to be sharing in a bigger way.
That is awesome. Thanks for sharing your screen there for a bit for us. I mean, this isn't a SiteCurve plug episode. I do want to just quickly pump up one feature you gave me a preview of last time we met. And I know SiteCurve, by the time we release this, will be that much closer. Maybe will you have a waiting list available for people to sign up with?
I do. If you go to sitecurve.com, there is a way.
Awesome. Okay.
We're going to be doing yeah, exactly.
We'll definitely have that in the description. There was a really cool feature you previewed. Is it going to make it to live where not only we saw what we just saw, tracking, right? But there's also almost like a community notes to go with the Twitter theme, a community aspect where people could comment on these trends, engage with one another on platform to discuss the data they're seeing.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm really excited about with SiteCurve. There's going to be, so basically I'm trying to also build a social SEO tool. So SiteCurve is trying to identify the winners and losers in SEO, and then the end why. I'm trying to crowdsource the why and have people comment and leave what they think is going on and things they're seeing. And discussions is going to be a very big part of what SiteCurve is. Think like Reddit plus like Ahrefs. That's like kind of the vibe I'm trying to go for. So yeah, that's a feature that's coming. I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. Yeah, we're both members of Traffic Think Tank. I think those are the best elements of those communities for me is when people are openly sharing their opinions. It doesn't mean they're right, but they're at least not closeted, holding it all close to their chest on what they think is happening because there's a lot to be learned. The data is there when you're presenting it in your tool, and then really cool to add that layer. Really quick wrap up. Shane, I always like to ask this. Is there anything I didn't ask that I should have?
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the SEO world. We got this DOJ case. Is Google gonna have to sell off Chrome? Are the AI tools gonna reduce the need for SEO? And are people not gonna even be searching anymore? I actually just recorded a video for my YouTube channel on this very topic. And right now, SEO is as strong as it's ever been. Google is still the number one by, I don't know, a couple of magnitudes in terms of.
You don't think ChatGPT's market share like this is just gonna not suddenly go? It's crazy, some of the predictions, but who knows?
Yeah, my take on it is if DOJ can break up Google and to have it sell Chrome, or Google can't be the number one search engine on Apple, like that's gonna definitely change up the landscape a bit. But I don't see AI tools moving the needle that much. Yeah, people are going to use them. They might have used Google before. Now they're just going to use Claude or ChatGPT, but they're not going to completely stop using search. And there are a number of reports. I know Rand Fishkin at SparkToro has released a number of reports basically saying people are still using Google as much. They're just using more tools. They're just using Claude and ChatGPT together. It's not like replacing Google. It's just a kind of an and, not an or kind of situation. So to me, as an SEO, I'm very excited for the future. I think that there are certain reasons to be pessimistic. Again, what's going to happen with this trial. But unfortunately, these things take a long time to unfold. We got a first shot across the bow on I think November 20th or 23rd with the initial report. The final one won't be actually around until March of 2025. And then they're going to have another year of debate and like discussion around that. And then it won't be really till the end of 2025. We're going to know what is Google going to have to do, and then Google's just going to appeal, and then we're going to be in 2027. So it's going to be years before anything actually changes in a material way for marketers and people who rely on search engine traffic. So again, if I'm a viewer that relies on this, if I am a vendor that needs SEO to be a thing to be in business, I wouldn't worry. Obviously, I'm building an SEO tool, so I'm trying to, of course, I don't want it to go away either. I don't think it's going away. And I think even in a scenario where the DOJ does something to have Google sell Chrome or something, I think the landscape will just be slightly different. Like, will like 80% of the search traffic come from Google? Probably not. Maybe it's 60%, and the rest comes from DuckGo or something. I don't know, but it's still going to come from search engines. And all the work that you're doing right now to optimize pages, build links, buy them from you, it's not going to go to waste. I'll leave you with those thoughts.
Yeah, awesome. Shane, I can do another few more of these if you want to come back sometime. I always enjoy connecting with you. For folks who don't know where to find you yet, do you want to just mention real quick? And of course, we'll put links in the description.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me at shanedutka.com. And also you can sitecurve.com is where the waiting list will be. So if you're curious about the tool, you can sign up there and check it out when it goes live. If you want to connect with me, shanedutka.com.
Awesome. Shane, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.